So don't be afraid of the title. It might sound a bit technical, but actually it will be super simple talk. Okay, so here we will be talking about very basic allocation problems. So we are talking about allocation. Sorry, are there any technical? Are there any technical problems?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
I cannot. The slide cannot see. I cannot see your slide. Maybe you share your slide again.
Okay.
Okay, that's right. It's okay.
All right. Okay, so we're talking about very simple allocation problem. So we have a set of indivisible goods. You know, you can think of somebody giving inheritance, and we want to divide these goods between a set of agents or like people who came into inheritance. We will be talking about very basic additive evaluations. I will soon explain what it is. You know, it's very simple, and generally we're interested in division of these goods in a fair manner. So because it's additive evaluations, it's really easy to visualize the setting as a table. So we have for the set of columns, we have set of items, and for the set of rows, we have agents, and then each agent has a value for any particular good. Let's say the first agent has a value 40 for the painting, and like 90 for the ring, and so on. And you know, if they get some set of items, let's say ring and a painting, they get the sum. So that means that it's additive. So a ring and a painting will be 90 plus 40, 130. So those type of allocation problems, you know, they appeared very early in humans' history. You can trace them back as early as ancient Egypt, where people considered problems of land division around Nile River, or in ancient Greece, where people thought about sponsorship of theatrical performance, who contributes how much for the sponsorships. And well, you probably all are familiar with cat and choose protocol. You know, if you want to divide a cake or any other resources, you can ask another person to do division, and then you choose one share, one of the two parts. And it's actually appeared very early in the history in Theogony. It's basically 18th century before Christ. You know, division of domains between Prometheus and Zeus. And also you can find references to it in Bible, where the division was between Abraham and Lot. In more modern settings, you know, this division, the fair division, also is a very commonplace. There are multiple resources that on the verbs that allow you to do it. For example, like probably the most famous one is a split it, which offers you a bunch of algorithm and division tasks for example, allocation of goods, like division of inheritance, or rent division, or right share division, and so on. There are like a few other resources, and actually it's my list is by far not complete, so people have a lot of algorithms and resources available online on these topics. And actually, there are really quite a lot of data. So, for example, Splitit collected like thousands of requests of just for the task of division of inheritance and so on. And actually, instances are often quite interesting. Anyway, let me formally state the problem and the setting. So, in the allocation problem, we have a set of n agents and also set of M goods. Well, we have each agent has a non-negative value for any particular good G. So we will denote it as VI of G for any good G. And formally, when I say that relations are additive, it means that the value of agent I for the set S is just the sum of values of the individual items in the set S, right? So how much agent I values each item G, each good G in the set S. And we simply add them up. Allocation is just a partition of the set of goods into n disjoint bundles that cover the whole set, and we give we assign the set A1 to first agent, set A2 to the second, and so on. Okay, one of the very appealing fairness concepts and properties is so-called envy freeness. So if you have an allocation A, let's say we have bundles sets A1 through AN, so it is called envy free if agent I values his set, the set he gets in this allocation, at least as high as any other set in the partition. So basically he doesn't envy allocation of agent J who gets set AJ, right? So if he defines a partition, then everyone will be pretty happy to get the set we give them. So there won't be any envy between agents. However, if you're talking about indivisible goods like a car, you cannot divide a car into 3 pieces and without losing most of its value. Well, in this situation, it's really impossible, right? So imagine that you have Rolls-Royce, everyone has pretty high valuation for it, but we have only one Rolls-Royce and only one person can get it. So basically, it's one of the examples why we cannot achieve envy freeness in the indivisible item world. Though, well, it's possible to do it if you can divide items, but division is not always possible. Well, people considered some other versions of this notion, some kind of adjustments for the indivisible world, because we cannot achieve envy freeness if we cannot divide items. But there is a quite nice way to ramify the problem. In particular, people propose to consider envy freeness up to one item concept. And what does it mean? That allocation is envy-free up to one item. It means that everyone gets a set, and their value is at least as good as if they got anyone else's set minus some item from this set. Okay, so imagine you're agent I, and you wonder, well, how much you envy someone else. Well, maybe somebody else gets better value. But well, we can drop one item, it's because the items are indivisible. So it's just because of one item that is big and creates this envy. Okay, well, this notion is basically for some item in the bundle AJ. And well, we as well can remove the item with the maximum value, right? It would minimize the right-hand side of the inequality. So this notion, I think, was first formalized in the paper by Budish in 2011, but it was also implicitly stated in as early as 2004 in the paper by Lipton et al. And actually, it's not that hard to prove that there exist envy-free up to one item allocations. Specifically, you can consider the allocation that maximizes Nash welfare. All right, so what is Nash welfare? It might sound something scary, but it's actually something reasonable and quite nice. So Nash welfare is just a geometric average over the values of agents for their corresponding allocations. Okay, so we just take the product of each agent I of their values for the corresponding set AI they get, and take the root n from this product. So it's a geometric average of their values. Okay, so actually, if you start with this allocation, it will be automatically EF1. It will be envy-free up to one item. And the proof is not particularly difficult. So let's see how on a specific example with values how those allocations may look like. So let's say we have 3 agents and 4 items. Let's say there is like one very valuable item, Rolls-Royce, that everyone thinks is pretty good. So they all place the value of it at 100. And there are like other items, 3 items that people have different preferences for. Let's say the first guy prefers the ring most of all. The second person prefers the painting most of all, and the third person prefers necklace most of all. Okay, so in this setting, there is this allocation where we give Rolls-Royce to the first guy, and then everyone else gets their most preferred kind of less valuable item. Okay, so this is actually envy-free allocation for just 3 items. So if we discard Rolls-Royce, everyone gets their most favorite items. They're not envious to each other, so everything is pretty good for these 3 items. And then we add Rolls-Royce to someone. Okay, well, it's obviously envy-free allocation up to 1 item, because we can just remove the Rolls-Royce and it will be envy-free for everyone. Actually, the issue with this kind of guarantee is that if you run it on a real on real platform like Split It, people might have questions. Why this is considered to be fair? Because if you produce this allocation, people would think, okay, Rolls-Royce is really a great thing, and somebody gets it, and besides that, they get something else. So, they still might find this allocation to be not ideal. So a more kind of strenuous relaxation, kind of stronger relaxation of the envy-freeness notion is so-called abbreviation EFX allocation. So allocation is called EFX, or envy-free up to any good, if basically every person I will be quite happy with the bundles they get. So VI of the allocations they get AI should be at least anyone else allocation, VI of AJ, up to any item. So for any item in the bundle AJ, if we drop it, agent I should prefer their allocation to this alternative. All right. So basically, we can write this condition as if we just drop the value, the item with the minimum value now. Okay. So it's a stronger condition than before, and according to the paper I already mentioned in 2016, actually, in this paper, there is very interesting question: do such allocation exist? And quite recently, in 2018, it was shown that for just 2 agents, and or the case where there are n agents with identical relations, indeed, EFX allocations always exist. However, it's one of, I think, of the biggest problems in fair division of indivisible goods, whether EFX allocations exist for at least 4 agents and, let's say, general additive relations. It's a quite interesting open question. So let me demonstrate you an example of EFX allocation. Let's consider the previous instance with the Rolls-Royce ring and painting and necklace. So the red allocation, where the first guy gets Rolls-Royce, the second agent gets a ring and painting, and the third guy gets a necklace. It's actually EFX allocation. All right. It's pretty easy to see why it's EFX. Well, the thing is, if you look at Rolls-Royce, it's only one item, so somebody has to get it. And the person who gets it, well, of course, some people might envy them, but on the other hand, somebody has to get Rolls-Royce, so there is no way to avoid such an envy. Also, in this allocation, second agent gets 2 items. Well, again, of course, people would envy this allocation. However, the thing is, we have 4 items to distribute among 3 people, so somebody has to get 2 items. And in this case, actually, there is literally no envy. Up to any item, because somebody got 2 items, we delete any item, and there is no envy. So, well, as I said, somebody here got Rolls-Royce, but it's this person doesn't get anything else. So it's basically unavoidable in this type of allocations. And similarly, it's unavoidable that somebody gets 2 items. So in some sense, you can probably see that this allocation is much easier to justify to users who gives this type of instances to the platform. All right. Okay, so we talked about different solution concepts for the fairness, what fair means. But actually, besides fairness, we often care about efficiency of allocations. And as I mentioned before, there is quite nice measures such as Nash Welfare, which is geometric average of the agents' valuations. So it's a root n of the product of valuations of the agents, and it has quite a few nice properties and really fit well into the framework of fair division. So it's objective that is well aligned with fair division problems. Like one nice property of it is that it's scale invariant. So if you take any particular agent I and just multiply all their values by some constant, so for the geometric mean, the product changes in a very regular way. So basically, if you consider optimization problem, the solution doesn't change. So the partition will give you like comparable Nash welfare for the scaled valuation versus original valuation. On the other hand, very common measure like arithmetic mean, the usual social welfare, is not that convenient because with this scale invariance, you can just make any agent super important. Their value is so big that if you want to maximize social welfare, which is the arithmetic mean, you would have to really emphasize much with specific agent. That's why it's kind of not really great measure in the fair division settings. Another nice thing about Nash welfare is that it's quite nicely aligned with multiplicative approximation results that we all like to do in approximation algorithm community. So if we can say that if a few agents lose some factor to their allocations, then we can nicely compare what is the factor we lose with respect to the optimal Nash welfare. All right, so it's pretty good measure in our setting. Another efficiency measure that people often use in the context of fair division is Pareto optimality. Also, it's not a quantitative measure. We cannot say, it's like it has this quantitative magnitude. But it's actually a constraint of the allocation. Formally, we say that allocation is Pareto optimal if there is no way to improve it. So there is no way to redistribute items in some way such that everyone is better off, some agent is actually strictly better off. So, people cannot trade between each other and improve allocation for everyone. So that's kind of a condition people also consider in this literature. Okay, so well, what kind of efficiency, Nash welfare efficiency, EFX allocation and free allocation up to any item can have? So unfortunately, some of the fair allocations can be quite poor. Consider a setting with, let's say, 3 agents and let's say 3 tuples of the same set of items. So we have ring, painting, and necklace, and we just take 3 tuples of identical tuples of this set. Okay, so a pretty fair way to divide items would be to give everyone just 1 tuple, right? Everyone gets 1 set of goods. And what is the Nash welfare of this allocation? So the first agent gets 90 plus 10 plus 20, so it's 120. For the first agent, the same for second, and the same for third. When we take geometric mean, it's 120, right? Well, but there is much better allocation. We can take the guy who really likes rings, take the second agent who really likes paintings, and take the third agent who really likes necklaces, and give them, 3 copies of each of the respective item. So it will be again allocation which is envy-free up to any good, and will have much higher Nash welfare. Specifically here it will be 270 per agent, and therefore the total Nash welfare will be 270. So you can see the gap is big, and you can make it as big as n for n agents. Just you take this example and just scale it up. Yeah, so the gaps can be quite big, and it would be much better if we also give people what they really want, not just care about fairness. Okay, so what would be a kind of ideal thing for us? Ideally, we would like to achieve envy-free up to any item allocations. So it's a plausible thing that hopefully can be achieved, and it's kind of easy to justify, on the platforms. It also would be nice to have high Nash welfare objective, because then we actually give people items they really like. And it also would be nice to have Pareto optimality, so that nobody can complain too much afterwards that, okay, let's reallocate the items and improve. Well, the difficulties are actually at least twofold, or there are, I guess, quite a few issues with this ideal plan. One of them is that we actually don't even know if EFX allocations exist for at least 4 agents. So it's a big open question. And also, as we just saw, allocations may have pretty low Nash welfare, which is again non-ideal. And well, Pareto optimality adds one more difficulty to the layer of difficulty of the problem. So actually, what we did in our paper, this joint work with Yanis and Xin. Well, so we just asked a kind of a little bit simpler question: what if you don't allocate all items? Indeed, if you have this instances, let's say with a lot of items, why we should care to really divide everything? Because there are a lot of options of what you can do with maybe just a few items in this inheritance. Maybe you can donate some of them to charity, or dispose of them in some way. Maybe you can, share some of these items, and it's not convenient, but at least, you don't waste them. Or, you can sell some of the items and divide the profits. It might be very inefficient, but in this way you can get rid of some items. So, it's quite clean potential way to resolve all these difficult questions, of existence and so on. And as it turned out, the simple operation of just not allocating everything allows you to achieve quite a few nice properties. So of course, there is a way to divide items in a somewhat fair way. So there is a EFX allocation. That's not surprising. You can remove everything and donate everything to charity, and the allocation will be, of course, envy-free. However, not only that, you can actually achieve a good Nash welfare for the partial allocation, meaning that you can get at least half of the optimum Nash welfare, which is not bad. So, you can allocate items pretty efficiently, so that, like, on average, people lose at most half of their items. And also, this allocation would be Pareto optimal. So that's one result. And the bound 1/2 is in fact tight. So what does it mean it's a tight bound? It means that there are instances such that any partial EFX allocation, so if you insist that it's EFX, then you have to lose quite significant fraction of your Nash welfare. So factor 1/2 is tight. So let me give you, it's not that hard to see why is that. So let me give you an example. It always helps to build intuition. Looking at some examples. So imagine that we have n agents, n is equal to 3 here. We have n-1 really valuable items that everyone really likes, in this case, Rolls-Royces. But we have n-1 of them, so we cannot give every agent exactly one Rolls-Royce. And we have personalized items. So the first agent, let's say, likes rings so much. The second agent likes paintings very much, almost as much as Rolls-Royces. And the third agent likes necklaces very much. Okay, so in this setting, what do we have? So optimum is to give everyone their beloved personalized items and just assign n-1 Rolls-Royces in an arbitrary way. In this way, we get roughly 100 times 2 to the power 1 minus 1 over n as a Nash welfare. However, for any partial EFX allocation, we actually cannot do better than 100. Because there will be an agent who doesn't get a Rolls-Royce, then their value will be at most actually strictly less than 100. And if there is such an agent, well, they will be envious to any bundle that has a Rolls-Royce. And if this bundle has anything else besides Rolls-Royce, well, we'll violate EFX condition. So it means that every agent cannot have more than value 100 in this case. So basically, it means that the Nash welfare of any EFX, any partial EFX allocation is not more than 100. And you see the gap of 2 to the power 1 minus 1 over n. So when when n is large, it's pretty much 2. All right. Another result you can get, with this partial allocation is that in the setting with a lot of items, so-called large market means that, let's say every item has small value compared to the entire set of items. Then it's possible to achieve 1 minus epsilon approximation to the optimum Nash welfare. So, maybe you can get rid of just a few items, and the rest you allocate almost as well as you would do in the optimum. and you achieve the EFX condition, so people wouldn't be envious to each other. And finally, our results are not just existential. The nice thing is that you can construct them in somewhat black box manner. So you can start with any allocation given by, let's say, a black box, like some approximation algorithm that computes optimum Nash welfare. Not that exact optimization is actually NP-hard, but you can get some constant approximation. For example, there is such result by Colin Gatzelis. So you can compute some approximate allocation. Then, starting with this allocation, you can achieve EFX allocations that loses at most half of the original X, which is 1/2 row of the optimum. And this can be done in a computationally efficient manner. All right, so that's basically the results of my work. So now let me just give you some high-level idea how the algorithm works, and give you some illustrations. So as you might already guess, the idea is to start with a good initial allocation X that has high Nash welfare. It might be given by a black box or approximation algorithm, or might be optimum. Let's say it's optimum for simplicity. And well, the way we're going to look at the allocation is actually not immediately at the allocation. So if you take perspective of agent I, what do you care about? About allocation? You actually don't really care about what bundles other agents get. You only care about partition of items into bundles and what you personally get, right? So that's perspective of each agent I. All right. So in this sense, we can construct EFX feasible pairs between bundles and agents. So we say that bundle ZJ is EFX feasible for agent I if we can assign a bundle ZJ to agent I, and then agent I wouldn't have envy to any other bundle in this EFX definition. Okay, we can actually construct the whole graph of these pairs between agents and bundles, which bundles we can assign to them. Okay, and well, so given this graph, what we want to start with this initial partition and do very simple operations, just deletion of items. So we don't want to do any reallocation of items, just delete some items from those bundles, and just do it one by one. The nice thing about sequential deletion is that whenever we delete one item from a bundle, we don't really remove edges in our EFX feasibility graph. So people would still like to get other bundles if we didn't touch them at all, right? So the only changes will be with respect to the bundle from which we removed an item. Well, actually, we might remove even some potential envy. So people actually might have more feasible allocations, but we only make things better when we delete item from some bundle. So we only make things better for the remaining bundles. Yeah, and well, generally we would allow people to switch to different assignments. So they might consider other bundles. And the idea is that we maintain maximum matching. So we try to always increase the maximum matching in this feasibility graph. We try to assign as many bundles to people as possible in a feasible manner. Okay, and Well, basically the idea is that to keep repeating this deletion operation until somebody decreases their value by too much, so they get, let's say, less than half of their original value in the original location, at which point we say, aha, stop. And if this happens, we can redistribute items in some way and increase the Nash welfare. Okay, so if we started with the optimum Nash welfare allocation, then this will never happen. It means that we should arrive at perfect matching in the graph at a certain point before we remove more than half of the items from each bundle. Okay, so this is just like high-level summary of the algorithm. So let me illustrate some of the concepts like effects, feasibility, and matching. So let's say we start with our favorite example of like 3 agents and 4 items. So this allocation actually maximizes Nash welfare. So we have 3 bundles, right, and 3 agents. The bundle of Rolls-Royce and ring, painting, and necklace. So in this case, initially there is only one bundle that is EFX feasible for everyone. It's a Rolls-Royce and a ring, right? We cannot assign anything else. So the matching I mentioned before would be like to give it, let's say, to the first agent. That's actually how we arrived at this specific partitioning. Well, and it turns out it's a good idea to remove the least valuable item for this person. So if you do this, we get now 3 items, and we actually resolve problems with envy. So other people will move from the bundle of Rolls-Royce. So we created more potential locations, and actually we have now complete matching. At which point we should stop and allocate items this way. Okay. So that's kind of very high-level description of the algorithm. So there is this whole business of which items to remove from which bundle. So there are some delicate steps in this analysis, but I hope the high-level idea is quite clear what's going on. So okay, let me give you just a glimpse of the analysis. So the idea is that we have, if you don't have a complete matching, we have some over-demanded bundles, so which too many agents want to get. And the idea is to remove items from those over-demanded bundles. In fact, because of the EFX condition, we want to find agent I and such over-demanded bundle ZJ and one goods there, such that I would still consider ZJ without good G as EFX feasible location. So it turns out that we can find such a pair. And then we're going to delete the good G so that we still have an edge in the feasibility, EFX feasibility graph between I and the modified bundle ZJ. And well, the thing is, in this way, we delete an item and hopefully turn this kind of over demand from this bundle to other bundles. So hopefully other agents will eventually switch to other bundles and would, in this way, we resolve over demands and hopefully assign more and more people to the bundles. So specifically, we kind of maintain a semi-invariant. We always try to increase the size of the maximum matching in the EFX feasibility graph. Okay, and well, it's some kind of technically points in the algorithm, we actually always make sure that in the maximum matching we match the bundles where we deleted any items. And also we try to match as many agents as possible to their initial bundles. Just to give you a glimpse of some technical parts of the algorithm. Okay, so let me just illustrate the high-level point of the analysis. So the idea is to improve Nash welfare. So we start with, let's say, optimum Nash welfare in the original location, right? And then, well, we look at the EFX feasibility graph. We look at over-demanded bundle. We remove item from it, such that somebody still would be happy to get this bundle with a removed item. So let's say it moves away some of the agents. Let's say first and third agent moved away to the second bundle. Again, we, let's say, have some over-demand. We again remove item to resolve the over-demand. Let's say we made sure that the third agent would be still happy to get the second bundle. And now maybe, the first agent would like the first bundle. So we have an over-demand, again, over-demand situation for the first bundle between first and second agent. So we remove an item there. Well, so as I mentioned, we try to maximize the number of pairs where agent I is matched to bundle AI. So we would remove an item from the perspective of in such a way that the first agent would still like to get the first bundle. So, and let's say, after all these operations, we get into this stopping condition where we deleted too much, right? That's our concern, that we keep deleting items, but what if we just, delete all of them? So let's say the value of the first person for the original bundle now is decreased more than by a factor 2. All right, in this case, we're just gonna find another location with a higher Nash welfare. So specifically here, the location would look like this. It's like 3 red boxes. And the idea is that, well, the first agent here would lose, so the value, his value in the new allocation will be more than half than in the original. The value of the second agent will be at least as big as in the original. That's actually requires some work. But just believe me that this will be true, if we maintain all the combinatorial properties of the algorithm. And the third guy, well, he gets one extra big item, and because he preferred it more to the original bundle in the original location, well, so his value is at least twice as so he increased his value in the new allocation by a factor of at least 2. So overall, we get an improvement to the Nash welfare. So the product of the values in the new allocation is bigger than the product of values in the old one. Okay, so, well, I hope it gave you some impression about the analysis. But yeah, actually it requires kind of more careful and formal handling, of course. All right, so I'm almost done. Just a few interesting properties of the algorithm to conclude. So the resulting assignment will be surprisingly matching the initial assignment in the optimum Nash welfare allocation, or actually any allocation X. So that was kind of an expected property of our analysis. Also, it turns out that the final assignment will be Pareto optimal. It will be partial allocation, but actually within this set of items, it will be Pareto optimal. And well, we also, in our second result for large markets, we actually used similar approach, like a bit more technical work with deletions. But when items are small, we actually had to do some number theoretic analysis to get our result of 1 minus epsilon approximation. All right, so my last slide is just to summarize and also mention that I think it's this is quite exciting research directions. So there are quite a few applications of this approach. So first of all, the result for the EFX allocation allowed us to get quite easy result for EF1, existence of EF1 allocation with high Nash welfare in polynomial time by just like reallocating removed items in our algorithm. Second, after publication of our work in, I think, EC 2019, just the next year, there were already 2 papers that relied on our work and got quite a few exciting results. For example, they proved that very few items need to be donated to charity. So they actually they of course like modified algorithms. So now they not only delete items, they do some reallocations, but actually just need to delete very few items and achieve very similar guarantees to us. So it's just like you almost can achieve Envy freeness up to. So the partial allocation does allocate almost every item. And moreover, like very recent result, which was published like a month ago, proved that EFX exists for 3 agents and additive evaluations. I think it's one of the biggest questions in the fair division literature, and I think literally one of the most important question for the fair division literature of indivisible goods, whether EFX allocation exists for arbitrarily n agents. One last thing I want to mention is that in this recent EC paper, people actually observed, they constructed an example where there is a partial EFX allocation with a higher Nash welfare than any complete EFX allocation. So it basically means that it might be literally beneficial to remove some items from the instance, and then actually it helps if you really want to be fair. So if you insist on EFX allocations to be a very important property, then it actually might be a better idea to remove some items, donate them, and everyone will be happier about the final allocation. All right, that's all. Thank you for your attention. Please ask questions if you have any.